There we go. What is up, YouTube? All right. So I think we're live. This is my first time ever actually going live on YouTube. Pretty pumped for this. So let me just check the channel and figure out, like, yes, we're live. Mode. All right, sweet. Here we're live. Now let's see. Boom. It's showing that we're live. I would love to see. I'm pulling up the stream here. Um, Heck yeah, it's showing that we're live. I would love to. Okay. Sweet. Let me figure out how I'm gonna try and get the chat pulled in here because I'd love to see you guys on the chat. Um, Today's training, I got a quick training for you that I'm really excited to dive into, and it's just gonna help you understand one of the most common misconceptions people have overall when it comes to delivering value as a service provider or as an online business owner. And I'm really excited because once you get this, it makes your life so much easier. Like, I think that sometimes we have these deep-seated beliefs that, like, making money has to be hard. We believe that we have to work hard in order to succeed. And really, if you just look at it, it's about leverage. It's not about hard work. It's not about having to 100x your output. It's more about finding where the lever is to get the 100x output. That's going to be the ultimate key for that. So I'm going to switch over really quickly to my iPad, and I just want to make sure y'all can see it. Let's double check. We'll go live. I'm pulling up the screen here. Go live. All right, heck yeah, sweet. So iPad's up. Now I'm going to draw this out for you. So I want you to imagine that we're at McDonald's, right? So I'm guilty of enjoying a Big Mac. And so here is a McDonald's employee. They got the mop and they're mopping the floor, right? This is a front lines employee. So this is the person inside of McDonald's who's tasked with doing the work. So your front lines employees are going to be the ones that are actually mopping the floor. Your front lines employees are going to be the ones that are taking the orders as a cashier. Your frontline employees are going to be the ones that are actually making the burgers or making the fries or serving the drinks and walking around and making sure that the guests have everything that they need, right? So then just above that, I got them with their hands on their hips, because this is what they do. I gotta look at you with the hands on the hips, right? And so this is the boss. This is the frontline person's boss, and this is what you would oftentimes call the foreman. So the foreman is the boss of the frontline's employee. And the foreman doesn't actually do the work. The foreman supervises the work. Now, in order to be the foreman, they had to first be able to do the job, so they had to learn how to do the job in order to be a foreman. Once you know how to do the job, though, now you supervise. Your role is not to do the work. So, for example, one of my cousins, it's one of Adriana's cousins that by relationship we're cousins. So he is really good at becoming the foreman. So he gets into jobs, he does a great job, and people promote him to being foreman fast. And he spends most of his time supervising and organizing the employees and their work. So the foreman is going to do stuff like scheduling employee schedules over the next 2 weeks, doing all the checks. So they would be verifying that the procedures have been done on time and going through and double checking everything. And they're there almost at this quality control level, right? Now, above this person is our franchisee. So I actually have a couple friends. I have one buddy who, from the watch world, he franchises a McDonald's. Actually, has a couple locations, and they do great. they make good money. They really have like a pretty solid operations. McDonald's is a great business, and surprisingly, he's actually really fit. Him and his wife are super fit, which is funny. And I have another friend who he franchises businesses, and he has a bunch of Orange Series, right? And their role is basically they've taken this proven playbook that someone else created. They have organized things in a way. So they organized the labor, they hired the right team members, they organized the capital. So maybe they met with bankers and they got financing. Maybe they raised the money from their friends and family, but they organized the capital. And then they had to go through this whole process of being trained how to run a store. So they had to learn this job, and eventually they became a franchisee through the process. So if you want to own a McDonald's, you actually have to go attend McDonald's University. You have to actually learn how to make the burgers, how to clean the floors. You have to know all the procedures end to end, because McDonald's wants to keep a certain level of quality or a certain standard with what they're doing. So as a franchisee, you will make more money, partly because you've taken on more risk. Franchisees have capital risk, so they've had to get the location rented, they've had to or find and identify, potentially even build the building. They had to raise the money, so they organized all these contractors to get the building built. They organized everything that they needed from the marketing department to do the launch. And then they were able to have this operational business as a result of it. So potentially as well, they're going to go out, they're going to sponsor some little league teams in the neighborhood. They're going to go put flyers and doors. They're going to kind of get that initial promo and push, but they're the person, they've had to learn all these roles, and they can oversee this as a result. Then above that person, you have this is my best drawing of a brain. I gotta have squiggly lines so it looks like a brain, right? But this is my brain drawing. So clearly I didn't do so great at art, but obviously I'm not terrible either. This is a brain, right? And so at the top, you have the franchisor. Now, the franchisor is the one who puts this all together. The franchisor is the one who gives everybody the opportunity in the first place, because the franchisor was the one who identified the business model. They identified the ability to be able to take an input, transform it in some way, shape, or form into a consistent output, and then to exchange that output for money in a way that's profitable and scalable. That's what the franchisor did. So they figured out the business opportunity, they identified it, they actually validated it, they figured out how to package it, and then they started to sell the business idea to your franchisees. The franchisees then hire the foreman, and the foreman then hires the front lines person. There's a Jay-Z lyric that I absolutely love. He says, "These days a brother gotta admire me from 4 fiends away." So this is in the song Can I Live by Jay-Z. He says, "These days a brother gotta admire me from 4 fiends away." So what he's really saying is, he's saying that there's the street corner boy, right? So if you think about, and I'm like a huge nerd on, I don't know why, but I love these like rags to riches, like drug lord stories, like if Narcos and Sons of Anarchy and Breaking Bad and all those types of stories. Those are some of my favorite TV shows. I could just watch that story endlessly. And if you've ever seen The Wire, right, they have the little corner boys. So the corner boys are on the front lines. Those are the ones that are actually moving the packs and making sure everything's happening. Then the foreman is above them, and the foreman is the one who's watching the operation of the street, making sure it's going smooth. And then above them is usually going to be the lieutenant, and above them is the general. Right? And so what Jay-Z is saying is he's 4 fiends away. So the person buying is over here, and so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you got to go through these 4 people to get to him, the mastermind. And it's because he knew that the money wasn't in the work, the money's in the ideas. The money is not in the doing, it's in the intellectual property, the systems design, the ability to identify the business model, the opportunity to be able to figure out the distribution channels and set up on the corners to own those blocks effectively and to run the entire thing like an operation. That's where the real value is. Now, a lot of you guys, when you're selling your agency services, or maybe you're selling coaching programs, you guys are sitting there, and it could be whether you're the business owner or you're the sales rep. I know in most situations, both of them are guilty of this. They're thinking that the value is in the work. And the reason that they think that the value is in the work is because they're letting their audience lead them, right? So if you actually look this up, I looked it up recently on Glassdoor or on PayScale. Is one of those two sites. So if you want to fact check me, you'll find that these numbers are approximate, but they're fairly accurate. So a frontlines employee at McDonald's, I'm actually going to clear it out a little bit. This person here makes typically $2,500 a month. So I saw on the internet it said between $2,000 to $3,000 a month, but they make about $2,500 per month to be on the front lines and do this work. Whereas the foreman, from what I saw, it looked like it was about $4,500 to $5,500. So I'm going to put $5,000 per month. So that's how much you get paid to supervise. This person's the one who's not doing the work, getting paid twice as much to watch the people who are doing the work. Partly because they have the skills to know how to do those jobs, partly because they've demonstrated the accountability and the responsibility to be someone who could be trusted with authority or with responsibility. Then above that, generally the franchisee, they will make about $15,000 a month per unit. So, and it could be more, it could be less. You know, I've heard of situations with people making as little as 10 grand a month, and situations with people making about 25 grand a month per location. Now, the franchisee, where they get the replicability and the scale is that they can actually have multiple locations. So my friend who does Orange Theories, he's scaled to 9 locations, and that's where he's now able to have this extra scalability or leverage that's existing in the system. Now, at the top level, I actually looked this up. I believe, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe if I looked it up, it was like $20 million is the CEO right? $20 million a year is what the CEO of McDonald's makes. So if we took it down per month, we could say it's about $1.7 million a month, right? And this is for overseeing the entire operation. They're not actually making burgers. They're not actually doing any sort of cleanup in stores or any of that stuff. They're overseeing the entire operation, and they make $1.7 million per month. So this helps you very clearly see that the money is in the intellectual property, the money is in the quality decision making, the money is in the strategy, the money is in that idea level where you're creating outcomes over a long period of time. Now, with that, what happens is people who don't understand this will typically place more value here than they do up here. I'm here to tell you the most money I've ever paid consultants was for ideas. If you want to get paid less as a consultant, whether you're an agency or a coach, do the work for them. Do the work for them, because you're going to attract the lower level clientele. Higher level clientele value ideas. They know that this is where they make all their money. So they know one idea is the difference between millions and failure. Those are the people that I want to be selling to. Now, not everyone that comes into my funnel is these types of people, which is why I create content which educates people into becoming that type of person. Because once you clearly see this, it makes perfect sense that the doing is not where the real value is. That's also why the clients pay significant sums of money just to get advice, right? I don't have to actually do the work. I don't have to actually take the sales calls or develop their scripts or anything. Sometimes we do inside of the coaching program because it's a faster way to get them to the result, but I don't have to do that, and it's not promised on the outset. What I do is I answer their questions. And the reason I'm qualified to answer their questions is because I've been down this road as many times as I have. I've been around the block, up and down around the corner. I know the lay of the land, and if there's a detour on one road, I know how to get around it. So that's why they're coming to me. But they're coming to me for the ideas, not for the actual labor, not for the management, not for that. And the worst quality clients that you get will value this more than this. So they'll value the actual doing more than they value up here. Those are the types of clients that will end up giving you a lot of headaches in the long run. And it's because you're letting them lead you. So once you become aware of this mental model and this way of thinking, you can't go back. A mind stretched to new dimensions is now at that place, right? This is a type 2 change. You can't bring this back. The egg is cracked. So now that you look at it this way, I want you to make sure that you charge higher and higher and higher and higher pricing, and you know that the value is in your intellectual property, and you really truly value your intellectual property, because that's where the magic's at, right? And the intellectual property, the beautiful part of it is it's far more scalable. Think, for example, where Richard Branson of Virgin or Disney, they get paid on licensing. Two of their biggest revenue streams is through licensing. Disney doesn't make a shirt. Disney tells a story. They own the IP and the intellectual property of that story, and then they license the rights out to a manufacturing company to make the shirts. So when you're at the Disney park, Disney actually doesn't make their shirts, they license it out. At the Disney World store, they don't make that, they license it out. And Richard Branson does the same thing. So when someone wants to leverage the Virgin brand and they want to enter a new market, say for example, I wanted to set up a telecom company inside of Africa and I wanted to have Virgin Mobile Africa. Well, I could go to Richard Branson, license his brand, given that you go through the application process, you meet all the approvals, you can license that brand and enter in that new market, and now you come with the full force of Richard Branson and what his name and the idea of the Virgin brand means. So it makes it way easier to get traction. That's just another 2 examples for you to see this in action, where you see that the money is in the actual IP. You don't want to necessarily be the franchisee. You don't necessarily want to be the foreman, and you don't necessarily want to be the front lines employee. Now, if you're just getting started, I do want to encourage you, you should work your way up, because this is the way you learn. You should start on the front lines, you should be humble, and you should move as fast as you possibly can through each of these roles to get to that higher level, right? You don't need to take a long time to do it. You can do it fast. You can roll through it with speed if you're consistent, you're dedicated, you show up every single day on time, you put in that work. You can elevate really quickly. The lessons you learn at each of the levels, though, are invaluable, so I will encourage you guys to take the scenic route, move fast, don't stay broke, don't stay poor at these lower levels, move fast, but also take your time with it. Make sure you're acquiring the skills so that when you get to the level of being the franchisor, you have the knowledge that is required, and you have the skill that is required to successfully operate at that level, right? So it's one of the reasons why, I started as a bellman, worked into this, it got into sales, and that was when I had a major transformation, because my income went from my input to my output, and I actually 10x my income as a result of that. And then from that point, then I started to move to the foreman. I started to build sales teams and be able to manage people underneath me. And I had kind of already done that as a front desk manager inside of the hotel world. And then once I started to be able to build and manage the sales teams, then I started to be able to put the plays and systematize and almost put together everything like a franchisee, and then get to that level where we're now selling the ideas. So that's what I want for you, because it's far easier. You're going to make more money, you're going to work less, you're going to have a far better results for your clients, you're going to be working with the cream of the crop client, that actually takes results, the people who truly value the inspiration and the ideas. And I want you guys to remember what Eleanor Roosevelt said, where she said, small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, and great minds talk about ideas. So play at the idea level, give it your all. With that said, I hope you got some gems here. Give this a sub, give it a like, drop a comment below. I'd love to know what stood out for you as well. Feel free to tune into some of the other videos on our channel. We have tons of stuff. You could go down the rabbit hole for hours. Watch me do live sales calls right here. You could also go ahead and go down the rabbit hole and learn about which funnels are performing right now in the market based on the data we're seeing. So with that, that's it for today. See you guys. Peace out.